for tuning in. If you're new here, hi, I'm Madison. My channel is all about spirituality, metaphysical concepts, the quantum world, and how we combine all of them to not only be super awakened and aware of what's going on in the world, but also so we can create our dream reality where we bring our soul purpose to life. So if that aligns with you, subscribe to the channel. Today we are talking about how to quantum leap in 30 days. So if you are somebody who's looking for a quick fix, an overnight fix, something like that, I'm not your girl. If you are somebody who truly wants to invest the time and energy into building a new identity and a new life and the new habits that support that, I'm your girl. So let's get into it. Whenever I first started manifesting and healing, I heard all these different things that were like, just write this many times before you go to bed and you wake up in this new reality. And none of those things happened for me. So I started to realize that in order to do something like quantum leap, and all quantum leaping is saying, right now, all these different timelines exist for me, right? And let's say I'm on this timeline, and this timeline is just like, it's okay, right? You know, maybe I'm not fully satisfied, but like it could be worse. But I also know it could be a lot better if I stepped into more authenticity, right? So what we're doing is we're creating the identity of the person that can step into that authenticity through this 30-day quantum leap program. So this is I would say creation that I've been working on for several years. It is a combination of everything that I have done to essentially regulate my nervous system, connect with the quantum world, and we also work with quantum codes to be able to use quantum codes to do things such as access, our ascension blueprint and different things like that. So let's get into it. You are going to want to journal for this, or you're going to want to save it and come back day by day, whatever works better for you. So right now, what we're going to do is we are going to get really real about what our dream life looks like. Not my dream life is I make $1 million. That's a monetary goal. What do you want average Monday to look like? What do you want your weekend to look like? What habits do you have? What time do you wake up? Where do you live? Who are you in a relationship with? Who do you surround yourself with? Do you work at the same place you work now? Do you work somewhere completely different? These are all the things we're going to get really real about at the very beginning, so that way everything that we're doing after is building the identity of that person and that lifestyle that we truly want to embody, right? Because if we just say, oh, I want to make $1 million, that is not at all the same as saying, I want to become a millionaire by building passive online course revenue that can help millions of people awaken to their fullest potential and connect with their highest self and their deepest, potential, right? So getting really clear about that is super important. So that's what we're going to do day one. Day two, I want you to get real about your why. So why is pretty much never money. Money does a couple things. Money gives us a lot of freedom. Money might give you location freedom. It might give you time freedom. It might give you freedom to be able to help people in your family. But there's a why under just making money or just building a business that is fueling you through all this. So get real about what that is on day two. Day three, there's a couple days through this where we are doing dopamine dressing and showing up as our future self. So dopamine dressing is like, it's an average day, but dress like you have like a hot date after work or something like that, right? Like you're dressing up as just a version of you that feels really good, really fulfilled. Maybe you're dressing like you have a girl's night after work, doesn't matter. Dress for that version of you that just feels really alive. Day four, we are putting on the calendar, what does this new version of us, what do our habits look like, right? So for me personally in this Quantum Leap series, when I was going through it for myself, I wanted to shift from somebody who only works with people one-on-one to somebody who primarily works with people more through teaching rather than through one-on-one sessions, right? And I also wanted to make all the things that I do in person accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world, right? So those are some of the things that I've been working on building. And so in order to do that, I had to build different habits because most of my habits revolved around keeping the schedule of one-on-one clientele coming through. And now I had to say, okay, pause. I'm going to trust the universe is going to keep that going for me while I also commit the time to being able to develop some of these things on the back end to allow more passive income to flow into my business. So that way I do have more time to impact more people, but also be able to impact a lot of people at one time, right? So I had to get real about how my habits are going to change as I move from one version of self to the other, and then make time for those habits in my calendar. Day 5, we are going to write out an ideal week in the life. So now, yesterday we added our habits. Now today we're kind of going through like, okay, what does a whole week in the life look like? What does my day off look like versus my day of working? Take what you brainstormed on day 1 and get really specific about what it looks like day to day. Because what we're wanting to tap into is that energy of the life you're trying to build every day, the lifestyle, not necessarily the milestone of $1 million or 1 million followers or whatever, right? It's always about the feeling that you're trying to get or the feeling you're trying to have rather than a numerical experience, right? And that's a lot of what we do during this, is actually trying to embody and feel that person and feeling and experience, so that way we can collapse the timeline between us now and the version of self we want to become a little bit quicker there, right? So day 6, pick a part of your day to romanticize. So this could be, oh, I'm like running late, so I have to like grab coffee. Okay, romanticize it. You happen to have the universe reroute you to a magical coffee shop and be able to get this delicious order before you go spend the rest of your day, you know, bringing your dreams to life, right? Like find a way to romanticize the day to day, because even when you have the business, right? So right now I used to work in the corporate world. I worked in the corporate world for about 10 years doing corporate HR, and I would dream about the days that I have now, right? And now I've been in this for, you know, probably 3 years now of just like full-time out of the corporate world on my own, building my own business. And it does not necessarily like whenever I was in the corporate world, but it does become like any other job, right? Like the first, you know, beginning of building a business, it's so exciting. And then you realize like it's so exciting, but it's also a lot of work, and it's also very much a job that you have to show up for, even if maybe you don't feel like it, right? And being able to romanticize these little moments that I used to really look forward to is what kind of kept me going, right? Especially because people really glamorize entrepreneurship online, and let me maybe do a little de-influencing of that. It is super fabulous, but it's also a ton of work. Like everything you see people do who are small business owners, like they're doing all of it. Like right now I'm literally developing this course, trying to tell you guys about it, so you guys will hopefully purchase a version of this course, so that way I can start to build this passive income. And I had no idea how to do any of this, right? I knew how to film like probably a YouTube video, but I didn't know how to build an entire, you know, PDF in Canva and then take that and upload that into a course that I built into the back end of my website. Like I had to learn how to do all of that, and that's not like my idea of a good time per se, but not like no matter how much you want your own business or whatever, there's still going to be things you have to do that you don't particularly love to do, right? So find ways to romanticize your life, and that's one of the biggest ways to start bringing that quantum leap energy into every single day. Okay, day 8, all we're doing, we're just gonna pause and just acknowledge like, holy shit, I've done an entire week's worth of quantum leaping work, and I've gotten really clear about this identity that maybe I've been visioning for 3 years, 30 years, it doesn't matter. And I'm actually making tangible steps to bring that version to life, and give yourself some credit for that, because a lot of us who want to do things like quantum leap, we're high achievers, which means that we get to the point and we're like, okay, what's next, right? Instead of acknowledging, you know, the pieces along the way. And I truly believe people who are successful know how to celebrate all of the milestones, right? And that's part of what makes them successful. Okay. Day 10, we are going to spend the day as our future self. So there are 3 future self days in here where I want you to show up as this version of self you're trying to be all day long and only make decisions as her, right? How would she spend her time? Would she say no to things that you say yes to? Would she play it small, or would she be really authentic? Show up as that version of self to start to bridge the gap between that new identity you're creating. Day 11, see abundance all around you. This does not have to be $1 million comes in the mail for you. This could be you go to the grocery store and everything you were going to buy is half off. And you're like, this is amazing. You know, it's truly the universe sends abundance in all forms and fashions. And being able to see that is what brings more and more abundance into your life, right? Day 12, we are releasing a limiting belief. So what we're going to do, so we're going to take a limiting belief that we had and we are going to put it into past tense. What that looks like is I will go down to a stream and I will grab like a really big like rock, and let's say this rock represents my insecurity. And I will like be like, I release my insecurity as I throw the rock. And then after, I'll be like, I used to be somebody who felt like I struggled with insecurity, but now I have released that, and that's something that is, you know, a past limiting belief, not something that I currently associate with, right? This is a Native American ritual, actually, where you just go down to the river and just throw in, you can do this for like old versions of self, you can do this for grief, you just pick a rock or a stick that resembles that emotion and then just throw it and yell what you're releasing. It does help if you pick a quiet river, or you can just like be the crazy one. Nobody really cares, but whatever. Okay, day 13. This is future self day round 2. So we were our future self, then we integrated a couple of new habits. Now we're showing up as our future self again. What did you do on that first future self day where you were like, ooh, I played small? Because once you start to realize like this is the identity I'm going to become, whenever you play small, it becomes more visceral inside, right? So reflect on those moments that became really visceral where you were like, oh yeah, I actually was playing small even though it was supposed to be my future self. So when that moment comes up today, here's how I'm going to respond instead, right? Day 14, we are doing on day 14 another reflection day. You'll see basically at the end of every week there's some sort of reflect, reset sort of prompt, because this is set to be something that you are spending time in every single day during the process. Just really stepping into that energy, right? If it's too much and you have to do, you know, every 2 days and it takes you 60 days, that doesn't matter, right? But the point is that you're making this a part of like your regular habit, right? So day 14, reflection and make a gratitude list. What has changed or shifted in your life since you started this activation that you are truly grateful for? And just be in that energy of gratitude, because the energy of gratitude is one of the things that brings in abundance and all the things we're looking for quicker, right? Because the energy we have, like energy is attracted to that, right? If you ever heard the saying, misery loves company, it's because low vibrational energy seeks out low vibrational energy. High vibrational energy seeks out high vibrational energy. It's like if you feel like, oh my gosh, I only get, you know, low vibrational clients that can barely afford to pay me. If that's what you believe, that's what you're gonna get. So that's what, you know, we're trying to work on in this as well. Day 15, so now we are starting week 3 of the Quantum Leap series. So we're up leveling our environment. So in part of this, I shared with you guys what I was working on professionally. Personally, I was trying to build the identity of somebody who was a runner. I have wanted to, well, 2 things. I want to do the hike to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. It's like 10 miles in, 10 miles out minimum, right? Not in the same day, but like right now, I don't confidently feel like I can do 10 miles down into the Grand Canyon with backpacking gear on. And one of the fastest ways to get in backpacking shape is running. And I also want to do a half marathon. So my goal is in November, I want to run a half marathon. And in October, I want to go to the Grand Canyon and do that hike there. I don't know if that's quite when it will happen, but tentatively that's my goal, right? So in this, I needed to upgrade my identity as somebody who was a runner, a hiker, you know, all of that. And one thing I did not have was a solid pair of shoes to do this in. And so I got a new pair of running shoes and I got a couple new pairs of running shorts. And that, when they came in, I was immediately like, oh yeah, she's a runner. Oh, you guys, I got a running vest too. Check my Instagram. I have some running vest videos, and I'm gonna do one of those where you wear the running vest and you make ice cream in it. Okay. I do a lot of like daily, just fun, silly things on Instagram. If you guys don't follow me there, it's just at A Holistic Awakening, same as this. Okay. So 16. Day 16, we're gonna do EFT tapping. So we are going to acknowledge the identity shift, and we're going to do that through EFT tapping. So EFT tapping is, if you've seen the videos where people are tapping and they're saying affirmations. I personally like to tap right in here. I've seen people do it here. I've seen people do it here, whatever feels good for you. But what we're going to do is this day we are going to work on EFT tapping and shifting our identity. So we are going to do this, and we're going to say something like, it is safe to move from one-on-one sessions to supporting and healing larger groups and larger audiences. It's safe to embody the person who has the discipline to be able to get in good enough shape to run a half marathon. Those are the kind of things we're wanting to say, right? And for whatever reason, when you say those things while you're doing this tapping, it almost like puts those things into the subconscious. So that's really cool. Day 17, today I want you to only listen to an affirmation playlist instead of music, right? So a couple I like, there is a girl on YouTube, her name's Lavender. She has a ton of confidence playlists. I want you to listen to that in place of all of your music. If you normally listen to 30 minutes of music in the car, now you listen to 30 minutes of affirmations, right? You don't have to do this all the time, but if you can pick at least a couple ways that you are supplementing what you're allowing to kind of come into something that's affirmations or manifestation related, it would be really helpful. So what I personally do is one day a week, I try to not have any music, and instead, if I want something in the background, I'll listen to a podcast on something that I've been wanting to learn about. I will listen to Lavender's playlists, or I will listen to this app called Stella that I use for manifestation. And it's like, if I want to consume, that's what we're consuming today, because we don't realize how much music can be lower vibrational, right? And so sometimes saying we're not going to disconnect from music because we're humans and we love music, but sometimes we do tend to maybe pick playlists that are sad or, whatever when the time comes up. So affirmation day only. Day 18. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm obsessed with sparkle waters. That's what I call them, sparkling waters, but I literally drink the plain sparkling waters. And I started drinking these whenever I got sober. I think it's because I used to drink vodka soda as like my prime drink. And then when I got sober, I was like, what do people drink? So I drink several of these a day, fun fact. Okay, day 18, say no to something that is aligned with the life that you're building. I used to be a people pleaser. Somebody would ask me to do something and I would immediately say yes before I check my calendar or even figure out, like, energetically, do I even want to be there, right? Now, when somebody asks me to do something, I immediately say, oh, okay, cool. Let me check my calendar and I'll get back to you. Because one, I want to check in with myself and figure out, do I even want to go? Because I don't have to go to everything that I'm invited to. If I don't want to go or it doesn't sound like a good time to me, I can just say, I don't have the capacity to, be able to do that this week or, whatever. So examples of how to do this. No, but thank you for thinking of me. Thanks for thinking of me, but I won't be able to make it. Those are some ways of how you can kind of, after you've taken time for yourself, if you decide, no, I don't want to do that, that's some ways you can respond. Day 19, self-talk audit. So me and my boyfriend have been doing this real time, right? We're both in this place of really understanding, like, hey, I am used to seeing a certain number in the bank account, and as I'm working to, increase that, what barriers or things are coming up, right? So something happened the other day, and Brandon said, I mean, if it's not one thing, it's another. Like, ask the universe, why does that happen? And I was like, because you just told it that, like, something happened that potentially could cost money. Your immediate subconscious reaction was, if it's not one thing, it's another. Subconsciously, before you even had time to process what was going on, you'd already decided, oh, of course this is going to happen, because if it's not one thing, it's another. And right now I was in a space of doing well financially, so obviously something's going to come and, make things more difficult, because maybe that's happened in the past, right? And so I'm explaining all of this to him, and he's like, so basically I'm the problem? I'm like, yeah. And I was like, I hate to say it, like, but we both have ways that we do, these limiting belief things, right? But I was like, yeah, like in this situation, what you say instead of is, okay, right now this is a little bit frustrating, but right now I am in a financial situation to actually be able to handle this situation, and I have different tools in my toolbox to be able to stay regulated while I figure this out than I may have in the past. So I don't have to be in this moment triggered that past versions of me are going to come out or past scarcity things are going to come out. I can acknowledge that that's happened and also acknowledge I'm a different version of self with different tools in the toolbox now, right? Day 20. Who were you before the world told you who you had to be? Today we're going back to what makes us feel alive. I'm going to give you guys a quick story time. I always knew I wanted to do something to help people to be inspired to be their best selves. I had no freaking clue that was going to look like me teaching you guys how to quantum leap when I'm, 33 in 2026. But I can remember being like 8 years old, and me and my mom used to watch this show with Stacey London, What Not to Wear, right? And I remember being like 8 years old and being like, Dad, I'm gonna be Stacey London from What Not to Wear when I grow up. And my dad was an attorney, and my dad was first generation, not poor. And my parents very much were like both brought up in kind of the era where like they were like first generation, not poor, and the way they saw to be able to do that was through going to college and getting a degree and working for somebody else for 30 years, and that was stability, right? Based on their belief system and the experiences that they had, right? So I tell my dad this. My dad's immediately like, yeah, you are not going to be Stacey London from What Not to Wear. That's not like a practical job. But what you are going to do is you're going to go to college and you're going to get a good job and you're going to work for somebody else for 30 years, and that's how you're going to have a good life. And I was like, and he was coming from a very good place. He was coming from a place of, I have seen all of this, and I've seen, people take different paths, and this is the only one that I've ever seen work for people, right? And then now, obviously I'm not Stacey London from What Not to Wear, but I am able to inspire people to live their best lives in their own way. But I did for about 10 years work in the corporate world, thinking like maybe that was like my purpose, right? But then I did realize there definitely was a little bit of that I was doing to like impress my dad. At this point, my dad's dead, right? Whenever I had the realization that like I had done all these things in the corporate world, I kind of climbed the ladder. I have a master's degree. I had like the highest HR certification you can get. I had all the worldly things, right? And then I realized like this isn't really what I thought it would be. And then I started to dig a little bit deeper, and then I realized that a lot of this I was doing because I wanted my dad's approval in my career. And at this point, my dad was dead. So I literally was doing a career that I didn't even like to try to get approval from a man who is dead. And then I was like, oh fuck, why am I doing this job? And that definitely gave me, the ability to kind of break free of that, right? Okay, day 21. Today, we are doing more EFT tapping, but when we do our EFT tapping, all we are saying is, it is safe for me to quantum leap. It is safe for me to quantum leap. It is safe for me to quantum leap. Because as we go through and make these changes, it's not going to feel safe to our body or to our nervous system, because new things never feel safe to the body or to the nervous system. So it's really important that you do work like this. Okay, day 22, back to basics. This day is going to be easy or hard depending on what your habits are like. You have to pick 2 out of the 3 things to add as a habit in your life. 8 or more hours of sleep, 64 or more ounces of water, or 2+ servings of fruits and veggies a day. So whenever you're going through these high quantum leaps, one thing that you cannot do is not drink water and consume shit. You just can't, right? Your body is actually like, the cells are, vibrating higher, so they might need a lot more water. They might need more sleep as you recharge. You might be flushing out a lot of old emotions and just things that you've been holding on to, and that might require you upping your, diet to be able to support that transition, right? This is where we're bringing all the pieces together and saying, I want to be able to fuel the container that's holding and allowing for these change, and here's how I'm going to do that, right? Okay, day 23, do something to reinforce your new identity. If you want to be a runner, go on a run that feels a little out of reach and see what happens. Pick one thing that feels a little out of your reach and go for it. Day 24, dopamine solo date. So for me this day, I put on a cute outfit and I went to this healthy lunch spot that I love and literally just like sat there like listening to like my little affirmation playlist while I was eating my yummy wrap, and then I just left and that was it. And it was beautiful. Okay, day 25. This is our last future self activation. So at this point, we've done a lot of work to figure out who we are and who we want to be and how to show up as that future version of self. Now, this is going to be when you're actually spending that time showing up as that future version of self. Reflect on the last two. What went well? Where did you shrink? How can you use that towards today? Day 26, build in time for your new self over the next week. If you were to show up just as your higher self, what would that look like? And what would those moves be, right? Day 27, love your shadow self. So at some point in this, you've probably had at least one moment where you have had a past version of self pop in, where you did something or said something or responded in a way where you're like, oh, I cannot believe that I did that or said that or whatever, right? We all have those. What I want you to do is, instead of that reaction, I want you to imagine this version of self now, going back to that version of you then, and giving that version of you whatever you needed in the moment, right? Maybe it was you needed to feel seen or feel loved or feel heard or feel understood. Give that to that version of self, and that's actually going to help you to collapse the shame around that and to be able to kind of close out that as like a past thing, right? Day 28. Today we are working with ascension codes, and today we are going to work on putting the ascension code in R42. So capital N, capital R, capital 40, or just regular 42, right? What I like to do is I like to envision it as word art. And then what I like to do is I like to imagine my heart's a flower. My heart's kind of opening up like a flower does. And then I'll just kind of imagine the word art just kind of flowing into my flower. And then I'll imagine myself just like soaking in that energy. And this is basically the universal kindness code. And so this allows you to just immediately elevate your frequency to where you are going to be naturally kinder towards yourself, towards others, and towards the experiences that have brought you to wherever you are in the moment, right? And that's one of the foundational quantum codes you need to be able to truly transcend and alchemize the things that you've been through. Day 29, take your vision board and put it as your lock screen. I have a vision board on Pinterest. I dropped those pictures that I liked into Canva, made a collage, put that as my vision board of my phone and my iPad. So anytime I go to either of those devices, bam, first thing I see is the things I'm bringing to life. Day 30. Look for evidence of this new identity being reinforced. So maybe you have been working with the affirmation, abundance is my birthright, and then you happen to have a situation that comes through that allows for abundance in a way that you never would have pictured it, but is incredibly helpful, right? Or maybe it's you had something happen and old you would have spiraled and new you is like, we got this. We have new tools now in our toolbox. We don't have to, stress about this moment. So that is day 30. If you guys want to have more resources to work this day by day, I have a couple resources. I have a 30-day Quantum Leap PDF that you can get. That's a downloadable. I also have a 30-day Quantum Leap course where there is actually a course that you go into, and every day you unlock different videos from me guiding you through the process, and you unlock different texts that you'll read. So basically every day you have like a video and then like an activation, and it's just me guiding you through, the entire process. I also do have a Quantum Leap call once a month. So it is on the first Wednesday of every month. And what that looks like is everybody who is enrolled in the Quantum Leap program has access to a Zoom room, and it's me, all of you guys, and it is whatever Quantum Leap questions you guys have based on what you're experiencing and going through in the challenge, right? And so once you get, access to the course, not the PDF. The PDF is just the PDF. The course is what gets you access to the Zoom room. And then you get access to that Zoom room for an entire year, right? So the course is 30 days, but you get access to be able to pop into those first Wednesday of the month Quantum Leap Zoom calls for the entire duration of that year. So that's going to give you, 12-month foundational support with like-minded people to continue to integrate those things. Because for me personally, even when I was developing this out and doing it like with my friends on Instagram, I was going through it myself, realizing every time I go back through these, there's something different that it activates in me, right? Or, that was really helpful, I want to go and work through that again, right? So this is something that you're probably not just going to use for 30 days and file away. You're probably going to come back to it, throughout, at least the next year if you go into this process. And these Quantum Leap Zoom calls are really there as additional support. One final thing, and then I swear I'm done pitching you guys. Hilton Head deadline is about to close. So if you guys want to go to Hilton Head, I am doing a Hilton Head female spiritual retreat. We're going to be in Hilton Head September 11th to September 14th. And we are going to do a mix of fun things like make friendship bracelets on the beach and have a mermaid night. But we're also going to do deep spiritual work, learn how to work with quantum codes, learn how to connect to our Akashic record, a lot of different things like that we're going to do in the process. So if that sounds like your kind of energy, you can check out more about all of this at the links below or at the link in my page. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys on the next episode, which will be a live on Thursday morning.